Hey, welcome back. We're following the hottest Hollywood headlines for you this morning.
And who better to do that than our very own Penelope Jean. Penelope, how are you?
I'm good. We've had a busy morning this morning with the CMA Award nominations about an hour and a half ago.
Rascal Flatts, my guys, they got some good nods, so I like that.
I don't think there was any surprises.
Really?
Yeah.
Was Miranda? I'm sure Miranda Lambert was on that list.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and all them. Okay, well let's talk about what we came here to talk about. Penelope. First things first. Real Housewives of Hollywood, or I guess Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
And finally, they've decided on what they're going to do for this season.
Right. So the premiere was last night. I did watch it, and as many people know, there was a big upset in the family of the housewives with the suicide of Russell Armstrong. This is the gentleman on the screen right now, and the husband of one of the housewives of Beverly Hills. So this happened approximately 2 weeks ago, and so Bravo had to decide how they were going to handle it. So they opened the season with a bit of a talk with the housewives, kind of a closed setting where they discussed the suicide, and they ended the show with some public service announcements on suicide prevention. So I think they did, you know, a classy job at sort of mitigating the circumstances, but it's very sad and unfortunate.
Yeah, in your personal opinion though, Penelope, do you think that that was a good idea to keep him in the show? The only reason I say that is because, you know, right when it happened, there was a lot of speculation that the reason he committed suicide was because of the stresses of the show.
Up with the show
exactly.
And that lifestyle.
And in fact, I have you're exactly right. I have a quote from Forbes magazine. So some of the housewives were saying that it's financial stress, and he does have a lot of financial stress, and he did declare bankruptcy in 2005 and is once again in hot water. However, this is what Forbes magazine has to say about it. Russell was reportedly distraught over the Bravo TV show and was how they were going to portray him in the upcoming season. So just as you said, this was also part of the speculation that because he's estranged from his wife, they're going through a divorce, he didn't like the direction that was going. Couple that with his financial stress, and it was just too much.
Being shown on reality TV for everybody to watch.
Which we can't even imagine how difficult that must be.
Right, and it's just crazy how it's just that big of a change, because in last season you could tell how loving they were taking care of their kids. You know, everything just seemed so great, and clearly it wasn't behind the scenes, because you said he filed for bankruptcy in 2005. So
right, and there was a few episodes towards the end of the season where they started having marital problems, and she wanted to go out a little bit more than he wanted to go home, and he was stressed out all the time. So it was starting to crack the veil.
So showing, the real lifestyle, I guess, the good and bad.
Exactly.
And now moving on with some, I guess, good, the Dancing with the Stars. Everybody's talking about this.
Right.
Chaz, Bono, and you know, a lot of now there's all kinds of drama circulating about this.
Controversy, sure. So there's reports now this morning that a lot of the fans of Dancing with the Stars are kind of boycotting his involvement in the show due to his transgender, they would say, agenda. However, casting really looks at who's going to bring the headlines in the media, and they anticipated this and wanted this. So it could just be some topics getting out in a healthy way, and people need to talk about that, and these things do rise to the surface. But he's not planning on using the Dancing with the Stars as a platform for his transgender.
And I think that changes the waters a little bit. I mean,
and they all do get a lot of, they get a lot of miles out of this show, whether they're, using their position on the show behind the scenes in media interviews. They can do whatever they want at that point. But he says he's not planning on using the platform of the show.
He says he's not even going to use his parents' music, which is what the show producers wanted to do. He says, no, I'm not using that. I don't want to do that.
So I don't know why they're kind of picking on him. I mean, everybody comes into the show with their own personal interests.
Everybody's got something going on.
Their charities. And,
I think we were talking about it earlier. Laura was saying maybe it's just because this is kind of a family show, I guess. And so this would raise a lot of questions at the home.
Sure.
A lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, what time it comes on. Yeah, I mean, you come on at 8 o'clock. That's family time, I would say. So I just, you never know.
All right, well, here's another thing. Eddie Murphy being talked about as a host And for this year's Academy Awards.
Right,
Yeah.
the
And
84th annual.
I think this is a great choice myself.
agree.
And I don't know if it's maybe an age-specific type thing where I can look back and remember when Eddie Murphy was on top of his game.
Sure.
Done a lot of big things. And maybe, somewhat kind of fallen off in the last 10 years, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. There's a lot going on with this. So last year they had a flop with their hosts.
Yeah,
so
it was bad.
Anne Hathaway and James
was so
Franco.
bad. And they tried so hard.
And they did try. So speaking of the age, they were going for kind of engaging the younger kind of pop culture with those choices. In the end, they weren't the best choices. They need someone who's really, really strong as a comedic actor.
Right.
And they fell short in that department. So they're looking at Eddie Murphy now. They have a new producer of the Oscars this year, which is Brett Ratner, who I have involvement with actually with another client and a movie that Brett is the producer of. And they have this new producer's come on board, and he's worked with Eddie Murphy. They've just filmed
recently, yeah.
Exactly, they've just finished filming a film together. I forget the Tower Heist. And
Comes
so
out in November, and then this
Yeah.
obviously would happen in February.
exactly, so
Awards,
it's
yeah.
Brett that's really putting Eddie up for this, and I think he's going to be a fabulous choice.
you
I think
think?
he's
Yeah.
strong enough to carry it. And if audiences, the younger generation, don't know him lately, well,
We'll get to know him, yeah.
reintroduce
We'll
Eddie
get to
Murphy.
know
He
him.
definitely has the comedy cred.
Sure,
you
and
know.
he's not that outdated, really. Just 1 year ago, not even a full year ago, he won the inaugural award for an iconic comedic actor by MTV. So this is, that's a big deal, and that's very recent history. So I think we're going to see a lot more of Eddie Murphy.
Let's
Wonderful.
hope so.
I
Yeah.
do.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
thank you
sounds
so
good.
much, Penelope.
you.
We appreciate it. See you
you
back
next
here
week.
next Tuesday.
All right.
Well, it's your chance to enjoy Charleston's best food for a fraction of the cost. We're talking Charleston Restaurant Week. That's coming up when we return.